Perfect. Okay, so just like a quick introduction to who I am, like just in case people don't know me, because I joined national after the national conference, so like you might not have met me before, but I'm comms and campaigns officer on National Marrow. I'm actually a placement student at La Roche at the moment, so I'm not at university. Caitlin actually did my job before me. That's how I know Caitlin. Now she's back at university, but I'm doing the job. Here is a picture of a TikTok that we made at National Marrow, at the National Marrow event. And then here's a picture of me at Durham Marrow, where I was volunteers officer before. Before I left to go on placement. So with this session, we're going to run through a bit like what is wellbeing all about, personal wellbeing, Marrow and wellbeing, and like the wellbeing of your committee. What I personally do, I know like I'm not the perfect individual, but I feel like there's a few things I do personally that like help with my wellbeing. And then at the end, just a little bit of help and support and like different places you could go to. So if we start the session, if people can go on this website, so it's like called menti.com, you won't have to log in or anything, and if you type in that number, we're going to try and create a word cloud of what well-being means to you, so that we can sort of see like what we personally think like well-being is to us, because I feel like well-being is quite a vague sort of term. Can you see that where it says what does well-being mean to you? Okay, beautiful. Sometimes you share one tab and then you can't see everything. Yeah, so if people go on this and like type in, I've set like 3 things as to like what well-being means to you, because it's different for everyone. We have a couple on there already. Having time for me, I think that's really important. Mental health, I think that's quite an interesting one, because like I would say mental health is linked with well-being, but also like well-being is everything. Then calm, I like that. Staying calm. Yeah, eating well, that is part of well-being. It's good to look after yourself. I don't know if anyone else has anything else, people still filling it out. It says 3 that you have to put 3, but you can actually just put like 1 or 2. Doing things you enjoy, definitely. Not overworking yourself, 100%. Coping well with stress, yes, we will cover that in a minute. So yeah, this is a nice little word cloud. I'm assuming that everyone's added stuff. If anyone wants a bit more time, that's fine. But if not, I will crack on with the presentation. But I think it's always nice to just have people's input. So when you look at a dictionary definition of what well-being means, it says the state of being comfortable, healthy, or happy. I think this is a really broad, definition, like comfortable, healthy, happy, like these are all massive words. So I think well-being is like completely unique to every single person. And we all have our own goals, our own ambitions, and like our own personalities. So like what we require for our well-being is completely different. So through this session, I'm just going to run through a few different tips, but as I mentioned, like there's no one size fits all solution. It's what works for you. So if we start with personal well-being, this is sort of back to basics, things that you've probably been told a million times over and over, but it's worth just having a quick recap. So it's important to get enough sleep, do some exercise, and also make time for yourself. So when it comes down to sleep, this is extremely important. Someone told me that you need 4 hours, so it's 8 hours of sleep recommended for everyone every single night. I know this is hard as a student, as often you might go out or you have to get up early for a lecture, but someone told me that the 8 hours is 4 hours to regenerate the body, 4 hours to regenerate the mind. And it's so important, like, not to neglect the mind or the body. You want both. When it comes to sleep, it's important to wind down before sleeping. sometimes people might like listen to a podcast or like something to calm them down before they go to bed, or like read. I like to read and like have time away from my phone before I go to bed. And then the final thing that I've put is like, only use your bed for sleeping. I know I find this is so hard as a student because our rooms are often literally a bed and a desk. Like, it's so hard to be like, I want to have this space like for sleep. But if you make sure that you like work in the library and then keep your room as that sort of like secure place, so that's really important. Of course, if you're worried about your sleep or you find yourself falling asleep in the middle of the day, make sure that you do see your GP. Like, as I said, I'm not an expert, just giving little tips. So the next thing is exercise. This is like, I feel like this can be a touchy subject for some people, but when I say exercise, I literally mean just like having a few steps. Like when you're working all day, like have a walk around the library or like pop outside to get some fresh air. I know people have like Apple Watches that tell them to get up and like do 250 steps. I don't have one of those, but getting out every day actually makes me feel better. Like, I never want to go out, but I have a dog, so I walk my dog. But like just getting that little bit of exercise, it actually will make you feel better. But I'm not telling everyone to go and do a HIIT class unless that's what you enjoy. Bring a buddy. As I said, my buddy is my dog, but make sure that like if you go out with someone, or let's say, should we get a coffee, go on a walk, then it will like help you with the like incentive of going out. And of course, like there is something for everyone, literally, like cycling, swimming, whatever floats your boat. You might not like walking, you might find it boring, so do what you enjoy. I think sometimes, as I said, as a student, you feel like you don't have time to exercise, but it will actually boost your productivity. Like, I spoke to this guy who was like really big in the company that I work for, and he told me that he blocks out 2 hours in the middle of the day to go and play tennis, and you know, he's quite successful. So maybe that's the way forward. But I think it's hard to think that you don't have the time, but you do have time, definitely. Then making time for yourself, it's really important. I saw that was put on the word cloud about having me time, making time for yourself. It's really good. Someone told me to like think of it this way, to have a happiness hour every day, and to think of your happiness hours as a bank account. So every day that you spend time doing things that you want to do, you're depositing into that bank account and you're getting more wellness. And then every day that you don't, you're like you're depleting money, or it's not money, but you're depleting in wellness, I guess, like in a video game, maybe, if you see the heart monitor on there. So it's really important that you have this. It's also time where like you don't feel guilty. I know when I was at uni, like sometimes, because you have these like these deadlines that last over like a whole month, you're feeling guilty all the time that you're not doing work. But if you set aside an hour that you're going to have for yourself every day, or if you don't manage to do it one day, have 2 hours the next day, then you're having time where you don't feel guilty. And that's so important, because that's just horrible when you have that sat on your chest. It's not nice. You can build a well-being menu. So like, these are things that you want to do. So then when you have your happiness hour, you might be like, oh, I've got nothing to do, not got any plans or anything. Look on your well-being menu, like, right, I'm going to do that today. So you can have a mix of things that you've like always wanted to do. So like, I don't know, learn Spanish, learn Mandarin or something. Or also like things that you just do, like that you really enjoy, like watching Netflix or reading a book. So like, you always know that you can do things for yourself, but it's cool to have a well-being menu. And as I said, like, it's so good to make sure that you're having breaks. You're the CEO of your own life. That sounds really cheesy, but make sure you don't miss this appointment with yourself. That is so cheesy, but like, you wouldn't miss a meeting, would you? Or like, you wouldn't miss your uni lecture. Well, some people might, but don't miss this appointment with yourself. This is very important. So that is like sort of personal well-being, quite simple, basic things that people have probably heard a million times over, but it's important to like just take a look at them again. So then what we're all waiting for, marrow and well-being, like the purpose of today. So why are we like holding this well-being session? Why is this important to us? We obviously care about you guys. Everything that you do is so valuable to like the anti-Nodin charity, but also to the people whose lives you're literally saving. So it's really important that you guys are all good, but also marrow is literally a side hobby. Like, we all do this because we love it or because we're wanting to learn and like engage with other people. This shouldn't be stressful. This is not university work. Like, this is not a job. Sorry, Lauren, this is your job. But for all the students that have joined, like, this is something that we do for fun. Like, we do it with our mates. We join these things because it's fun. Like, this shouldn't be a stressful thing. So we want to do everything that we can do to support you guys. So I think I've split this into committee and volunteers. Okay, maybe just committee wellbeing, but these are things that I have seen work really well. So with my Durham Marrow committee or with the national committee. So firstly is having regular meetings. I know this, like, most groups have regular meetings, but I think it's really nice to, like, if you have a regular slot, people are always checking in with you. Like, you're always speaking with each other. When it was COVID and I literally wasn't going out because of lockdown, we had our committee meetings once a week, and it was nice. Like, having that like regular schedule was really good, and it like prevents anything from becoming like a bit chaotic, like, oh, we've got like 3 meetings this week and none next week. And also check-ins. I don't know if anyone that has joined is a president, but I think as a president, like, it's really important to check in with your committee and make sure that like they actually are all right. Because I would go to like my Marrow meetings and be like, yeah, I'll do that. Then my president would be like, are you sure you have the time to do that? Like, how is it going? How are you feeling? I know with COVID, and like, we had events that we were running and there were a lot of COVID cases on our campus. So she just like called me and was like, are you sure you want to do this? It's like, okay. So just checking in with people, it makes them feel valued. But also it's nice to speak to your friends, but it's great for wellbeing as well. The next thing I've written is delegation. So I think it's really easy to take a lot of things on yourself. Say, oh, I'm organizing this event, so I'm going to do that, and that. And then you get really stressed because you've got way too much to do. You have a committee, you have volunteers for a reason. Use them. Like, people want to help. It's like better to ask for help than like take on too much. I've put honesty on here. By honesty, I mean, if you're a member of committee or if you're a volunteer, be honest with your president. Say, no, I have a uni deadline this week. Like, I actually can't do that. Don't lie. Like, when I was first on Marrow, like, I would always be lying. I'd be like, yeah, I'm on it. And I wouldn't be, because I was too scared to say how like things are actually going. So literally just let them know, like, we are all students, we're all in the same position. Tell them that it's not going to be ready by Friday, or can someone else help with like a post or something on Instagram. Like, just be honest with everyone. Honesty is best policy. And then finally, socials. Like, it's so important that we have like, we work hard with Marrow, we get those sign-ups, we raise that money, but then we have a social afterwards. Like, you want to keep your committee engaged, but also you want to make sure that they're all having fun. Like, everyone loves a social. Come on, guys. Like, this is, I think it's really important because it binds everyone together, but also makes everyone feel good. So it's really nice. Then we're moving on to looking after yourself, which is not specifically under Marrow wellbeing, but it all links together. If you've got like, if your wellbeing, personal wellbeing is good, then your marrowing is going to be much better. So this is something that I was like taught really recently. Some people like metaphors, some people don't, but this is the idea that with stress management, everyone has a stress bucket, and everyone's stress bucket is like a different size. So some people get more stressed more quickly, they have quite a small one. Some people have a massive one and they never get stressed. I'm very envious of those people. And as you have more activities, more stressful things in your life, your bucket is getting full and full and full. And there's going to be a point where it's going to overflow, and you're going to be, your mental well-being is going to be negatively impacted, and like, you might not be able to cope, or yeah, there's different consequences. So everyone wants to make sure that your stress bucket is as empty as possible, so that you're nice and calm and less stressed. So different activities act like taps, and they help to empty this bucket of the stress. I hope everyone's on the same, like, getting on the wavelength with the stress bucket. But so things like having your well-being hour, your happiness hour, like we discussed, or asking a friend to help out, or asking your volunteers to do something like help run your event. These are all helping to empty your stress bucket. And like things like improving your organization, stress bucket is just getting emptier and emptier. So I think I quite like to think of it like this, because there's those days where you feel really overwhelmed, and it's probably because your stress bucket's a bit smaller on that day. Maybe it's because you have a deadline coming up and it's just shrunk it, or it's because you have like some personal things going on. So just be aware that different people have different size stress buckets, and you can help empty your bucket. But I like to think of it visually, and I think it works for some people. Okay, so then moving on to just a few top tips for personal well-being. I think it's really important to organize, like be really organized. I actually set aside time for marrowing in my calendar, like it would be like another appointment, because otherwise, if I'm answering messages about marrow, doing uni work at the same time, my head's not focused on one thing. So I think setting aside time for marrowing, while I don't know, I think this works for some people, but doesn't work for others, because sometimes people see it as a sort of a work hour, but this is what I personally do. Then I've put this one on here, which of course not everyone drinks alcohol, but there is quite, especially in the UK, there's quite a big drinking culture. I know at my university as well. And someone told me this before I started uni, and it literally, like, I don't know why, but it changed everything. Maybe I should know more. But alcohol is a depressant. There are days when you just feel rubbish, and you're at uni and you've had a week of going out loads, and then you just feel sad, like literally sad for no reason. And you're like, why is this going on? If you've been drinking a lot, it's probably linked to that. Like, I'm not here to like give anyone advice on alcohol. Obviously, drink responsibly, but just remember that, because there are times, like especially in like a freshers week or something, where you're like, oh, I feel really sad, but for what? It might be to do with that. So don't always put everything on yourself, because like there's loads of different factors. Sometimes, or like it might be like a hormonal thing. Like it's okay. But I think in the UK with drinking, that's can sometimes affect your well-being. And then the final thing is enjoy yourself. Make sure that you enjoy doing marrying. Like, if you're not having fun, like, it's probably not the right thing for you, because you want to make sure that this is your extracurricular and you're enjoying yourself. We want to make sure that everyone is involved, is loving what they're doing. We're saving lives. This is huge, guys. So make sure that you're enjoying yourself. And then this is my personal well-being, like what works for me. I think it would be quite good maybe if at the end of the session we can, like, other people can share, but I'll just start with myself, be a little bit vulnerable with you all. But this is what works for me. So every morning, God, I literally sound so wet, but every morning and every night I do this like 6-minute gratitude diary. Basically, I have it here. I bought it, but literally just, you can't see it. But just Google like prompts on like gratitude. So then you start every day with a positive mindset. Like, some days it's really hard to find things that you're grateful for when you've had a rough day. Like, it's actually challenging, but it forces you to think about it. So I would recommend that you guys do it, because, like, as I said, some days when you can't think of them, those are the days that it's the most important that you do it, because you're creating a positive outlook on a day when you're not feeling great. Then in the morning, I write 6 things that I'm going to achieve in that day. 6 doesn't sound like a lot of things to do in a day, but if they're like actual like separate tasks, some of them would be like leisure activities. So it literally could be like have my happiness hour. But then some of them might be like something to do with work, or like complete that task today. Then I have to complete the 6 things in the day. I find that it's when you have a really long list with lots of things to do, it's impossible. Like, I'm one of those people, when there's too much, just withdraw and say I don't want to do it. So when there's just 6, like, you start your day with 6, you complete them all, and you feel great by the end of the day because you've done them all. Some days are more challenging, and like there may be obstacles which mean that you can't complete them all. But this works for me. As I'm saying, these are just my tips. Then calendar blocking. So I use an online calendar. I have one for my personal life. I also have a work one, but mainly use the like personal life one to block out days when I'm doing things for myself, and then times when I'm working. This is something that I've learned from work, but I'll definitely carry over into university, like saying I'm working on that in the morning, working on that in the afternoon, to try and split up my time a bit more. and then you don't feel bad that you're not doing one thing because you're doing it, you're going to do it at another point. You have set aside the time. And then I do a daily meditation every day. As I said, these things make me sound really wet, but it's having that, like, I would recommend that you all try it. Like, literally just go on YouTube or something and look for like a 3-minute one. Try 3 minutes because it's not very long. You could scroll on your phone for way longer than 3 minutes. Do a 3-minute one and then see how it makes you feel, because sometimes it can help me focus because you're like becoming more present, but it really does not work for everyone. Some people, it makes their head just get really like distracted and they can't control their thoughts, but it gets easier over time. And I'm saying it doesn't work for everyone, but I personally use meditation in my life. So yeah, does anyone have any tips that they would want to share in the chat? Or like unmute yourself, we can just like have a chat. I've like shared with you guys my tips, and then if anyone has anything specific that works for them, it'd be great to hear.
I definitely think just getting outside and going for a walk is definitely something that I do for self-care, because I like being around nature and stuff, so I find that quite beneficial.
Yeah, 100%. Like what I said, I think I always find it so hard. I'm like, oh, I don't want to go out, like I'm too busy. And then once I go out, I'm like, oh, I feel much better.
I was literally in the house where I just got back to uni last week, Thursday, and I left the house like twice, and then I went on a walk yesterday, and I was like, wow, I feel genuinely so much better. I was like depressed, and then I went on a walk to the co-op and it just changed everything. So definitely walks.
100%. Like you have times when you've like barely been out, and then you're like, why? I'm like feeling so rubbish. And then you're like, oh, that was it. Like that was the reason. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. So just quickly before we wrap up this session, just gonna like signpost you to like some help and support sort of areas, if like there's anything that's sort of more pressing than just like personal well-being. So I wanted to remind you that don't be afraid to ask for help. Literally, you can ask your national rep. So I'm actually not any of your national reps, but you can ask your national rep anything if you're worried about someone in your committee. Like if you just want to have a quick check as to like where you would go, ask your national rep or your anti-Nolan steward. We are here for you. As I said, we want your well-being to be as good as possible. Then of course your own university will have their own support service or like a nightline thing. Nightline is usually really good because it's always anonymous and you can just call them. Or speak to your GP if you feel like you might be slipping into depression or anxiety. Definitely speak to your GP. Don't be afraid because of COVID to get an appointment, because you will be able to. And of course, if you feel like your life is at risk, seek urgent medical help or call 999 for an ambulance, or go straight to A&E if you can. There are a few on this slide. These slides will be shared on SharePoint, or if you message me afterwards, I can like send it to you. But these are like just a few charitable organisations. So No Mind deals with a lot of mental health stuff. Samaritans as well have a phone line. Papyrus, which is suicide prevention. Calm, campaign against living miserably. Switchboard for LGBT issues. Beat for eating disorders. Domestic violence support, and also an addiction recovery website as well on there. So if these are any like links that people want, or you can just like take a screenshot now, that would be really good to make sure you're all well supported. And then I was just gonna say, like, do you think that the Mari team like have it right in terms of well-being? Is there anything else you'd like to see from us? Maybe like a resource you could share with your like groups, or we're literally open to anything. So if you have any ideas, like you don't have to put them in the chat now or like speak. You can if you want, or you could message me with ideas, because we're always willing to listen to you guys. Oh, is this my last slide? That is my last slide. Well, thank you everyone for attending. I appreciate like you all getting involved in everything. And oh, we're 3 minutes early, but yeah, feel free to stay on and like just have a chat, or you can leave and get ready for your next session. But yeah, have a good day. We're for National Mara doing a social afterwards. It's a virtual escape room. And I know we did one as Durham Mara committee, and I really enjoyed it, but I'm a bit nervous because sometimes they're really hard. So come to that if you dare, but it should be good. Yeah, Lauren, if you can stop recording, that'd be great.